Afternoon, it's 6:34 on a Friday evening, and I am delighted to be in Chicago, and I'm delighted to be with you for the next 20 minutes or so, and we are going to talk about what's happening in Washington, the District of Columbia. Well, Washington is into the second month of a new presidency and a new president for the United States of America. And as he campaigned on a platform of re-engineering the federal government. And I guess what he really was saying, that the federal government is spending too much money, that there is waste, fraud, and abuse, and that the policies of the country are going the wrong way. Now, he did get elected, not by a whole lot, not if you consider that he did win all of the battleground states. He did indeed do that. And he did get a majority, well, he did get more votes than anybody else that was running for president. So he is elected president of the United States of America. Being president in this country traditionally has meant that you have 4 units of government. You have the legislative branch, the House and the Senate. You have the executive branch, the president. And then you have the judicial system, the Supreme Court, which means that it generally takes 4 entities to make laws. That is, you get agreement between the House, the Senate, the executive branch, meaning the president, and the court system. Problem appears to be that the president and Mr. Elon Musk fella, he said, I want you to be an advisor. And they have been running roughshod, violating laws that the Congress had agreed to. And in some instances, the Supreme Court is determining whether or not those actions are constitutional. Some of them have been decided, some are put on hold, and some are going to work their way up through the court system. But in the meantime, the president and Mr. Co-President are moving with rapid I understand that they have actually reduced, and it's more than that now, but yesterday it was 65,000 federal employees who had taken early buyouts or buyouts, period. And of course, none of these people, well, some of them even are probationary people who had just been hired. So they certainly were not close to retirement. But I understand that 65,000, this was yesterday, and I'm sure now that there are many more than that, who have taken the buyout, and now they're out looking for a job. And they may have gotten a little bit of money to tide them over for a while, but it's not going to last long. And I think this appears to be within the purview of the president to do that. Now, I'm not certain, I'm not sure. And some of these, there may be some recourse. But certainly, whether or not they were needed is another question. Is it going to speed up services? Are they going to lay off or get rid of or reduce the number of air traffic controllers? I would certainly hope not, unless they've really scrutinized as carefully and as cautiously agencies like the Internal Revenue Service. I know that people call my office all day long saying that they have returns due them from the Internal Revenue Service that has collected more of their money than was necessary, and of course they're due to get some of it back, but they can't. They've been waiting. They've filed, and they know that they've got it coming. So I would hope that we have enough people working to provide the services so that people don't have to wait forever or an extended period of time. We are getting calls, for example, and the Postal Service is not actually technically, it is a pseudo-government agency or a collaborating cooperative, but the post office is actually an entity of its own. And they are supposed to be self-sufficient, basically, and generate enough money to operate and provide the services. Well, the Chicago Postal Service has been much less than what it used to be in terms of service, enthusiasm. But it's not just the Chicago Postal Service. It's the U.S. Postal Service. And many, certainly some of my colleagues and individuals who describe themselves as being Republicans have been touting the idea of privatizing postal operations. Well, practically all of the unions that I'm aware of are opposed, and so am I. I think that certainly the privatization of services and the privatization of operations is a great part of our system. But I'm not in favor of taking a universal service like the Postal Service and the Post Office, where every person in our country has been guaranteed to be able to have delivered to them a first-class piece of mail at a reasonable rate. And I certainly recognize in, keeping up with the times that the way of communicating is not what it used to be, and that technology has certainly, but there are still uses. I mean, a nice long love letter in the mail, a Valentine's Day card. Some of those things are still, as appropriate and as desirable. I'm pretty fond of the Postal Service for a lot of reasons. One, and I have no problem, the first real job that I ever had was working at the Postal Service. I grew up in rural America, and where I lived, the only jobs essentially that were there and available were in the agricultural business, which means that agricultural work was the basic work, and in many instances, the only work that existed. And so, of course, you did what existed. And during my growing up, which was quite some time ago, you worked in agriculture. That is, you helped till the soil and collect the produce, collect the crops, which means that I actually chopped cotton. That wasn't considered such a great job, so I actually picked vegetables and fruit, picked cotton. You heard of cotton. And so when I left or migrated and came to Chicago, I got a job working at the post office, and I did that for a little more than a year before I stopped. Well, I didn't stop then before I started teaching. So I've had some great experiences and met some wonderful people. I don't want to see the post office become a private entity. I want to see the service continue to be provided. I want to see the men and women who are enjoying careers and who have embraced that as their line of work. Now, there will be others who will have different thoughts and ideas, and living in a democracy, we like to call it, a democratic kind of republic. And I don't mean Democratic Republican parties. I mean in a country where democracy, that is, everybody who want to have a say should be able to have a say, and to have that say recognized as part of the ultimate decisions that would get made. And so we say that we live by law, and not just by the thoughts, ideas, and whims of any individuals. And our country is in turmoil. I mean, it'll get out. I have no doubt in my mind. But it's going to be painful. You know, President Lyndon Johnson used to say, there is no gain without some pain. And so you have to experience some things. People call in my office every day wanting to know, what can we do? What are we going? And there are those who, oh, you guys aren't doing enough. You're not. And they're sincere, but, you know, I often say that an ounce of prevention is worth much more than a pound of cure. And lots of warnings went out in terms of, and I don't really talk politics, not partisan politics on this platform. And I'm very careful not to do that. But I can describe what is going on without doing that. We know that programs that have been negotiated and put into action, in some instances, the current presidency, and I guess it's president and associate president or co-president, or whatever you want to call Mr. Advisor, they are running roughshod over laws that were made legitimately through the process. And they're just changing that, doing it. Or, you know, I understand that they clawed back from the state of New York $50 million that had been processed and given to the state. There are things that are being cut out and not legislated out without Congress saying, let's not renew this. The president is saying, along with Mr. Monk, let's not do this. It's not serving its purpose. And I still believe that we are a nation of laws. And if we become lawless, then that's not going to be the United States of America that we've been accustomed to. And yeah, the fight will go on, and we are going to fight. I mean, that's kind of part of a normal trying to arrive at a decision process. But I've also been told there's an African proverb. It says, when elephants fight, the ground is bruised. And so when political, powerful influences fight, oftentimes the people will get hurt. I mean, the people who need the food stamps, the people who need Social Security, the people who need Medicare, the people who need Medicaid, the people who need the best doctors to care for them, people who need trained nurses. I've been to the doctor today, so I guess that's one reason. But I'm saying when giants fight, or when elephants fight, the ground is bruised. When powerful political forces are at odds with each other, the people are often the ones who get hurt. So let's make America the America that's never been, but the America that it has the potential to be. And we're going to fight, but let's do it with decency, in a lawful way, and in order. Thank you for viewing these minutes. It's my pleasure, as always, to talk about what's happening in the nation's capital. And we'll see you next week. Have a good one.